Hello Miners and welcome back. I got a spicy one for you here today. I actually got this idea from watching a 3BNU video that he called Deadguy Sharks. And basically it is an amalgamation of a discard synergy deck with Deadguy Ale attrition elements mashed into one. And the deck looks super sweet, so I had to give it a shot. Um, Honestly, the original deck list that Phil was using in his video, I tested and I really didn't like some aspects of it. So I made a couple of changes based off of my testing to make this my own. And because we're mixing Deadguy Ale with Marauding Mako discard synergies, I am calling this Drunken Sharks. Our Makos are going to be drinking some ale today. So what exactly is this deck? This is a low to the ground rakdos synergy deck where the main engine of the deck is using discard spells such as Burning Inquiry and Faithless Looting to fuel Stalactite Stalker and Marauding Mako to make them larger. Stalactite Stalker has Descend, where if a permanent were to enter the graveyard from anywhere this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Marauding Mako, whenever you discard one or more cards, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So as we're discarding things, we're growing our low to the ground threats. And I decided to throw in Hollow One because we're going to be discarding so many spells anyways. Let's get a discounted 4/4 that's really hard for most decks to be able to kill. Since it dodges Fatal Push, it dodges Lightning Bolt, you need straight up destroy spells, such as like a Snuff Out or a Molten Collapse to actually be able to deal with it. So I went a little more aggro than the original Phil list did. So I decided to throw that in instead of the Beaumont carriers that he had because I was really not thrilled with those at all. To help on the lower end of the curve here, we've also got Lightning Bolt to act as removal or to act as a little bit of reach if we just can't quite get over the finish line with our creatures. So that's the discard aggro side of the deck. So where's the Deadguy Ale side of it? Well, it's this pile right here. So we got classic all-star Deadguy Ale card, Dark Confidant. Doesn't see much play anymore, but it is a good source of card advantage in low to the ground decks because your average mana value is really low. Because the card that you get off of Dark Confidant is going to hit you for life equal to its mana cost. Well, when your mana cost is super low, there's not a huge risk in being able to do that. And the fact that it puts the card into your hand instead of drawing it is also important with other aspects of this deck, which I'll get to in a minute. The other aspect of this deck that actually does get to is Chains of Mephistopheles, which you hear the old adage, reading the card explains the card. That does not apply to the way that this card was originally worded. To simplify it, it's basically if a player would draw a card other than their first card during their draw step, that player discards a card first and then draws. If they cannot discard a card, they mill a card instead. So why is this important? As I just mentioned, Dark Confidant just puts the card in your hand. It doesn't draw the card. It doesn't trigger the Chains of Mephistopheles replacement effect. So it actually acts as true card advantage while we're using this to shut down our opponent from being able to actually accrue advantage from their cantrips. They'll be able to get some selection as long as they can discard before they draw, so they can try to figure out what the best card they want is, but they're never actually going to go up cards. So there's a little trick here that we can do with Chains of Mephistopheles, along with Anvil of Bogardan. So the first line doesn't really matter. Players have no maximum hand size. That is completely irrelevant because our goal is so that players don't have hands at all. What's key on this is the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card, then discards a card. So what this does is if we can get Chains of Mephistopheles and Anvil of Bogardan on the battlefield at the same time, the Anvil will trigger. Your opponent will have to draw a card, then discard a card, then draw a card, then discard a card. Or they have to discard a card, then draw a card, then discard a card. Or they mill, then draw, then discard. So ultimately what this does is every single turn it goes at, or stays out, each player is going down one card at a time per turn until they don't have a hand anymore, and they're not going to have a hand anymore. There's going to be a very small window after the first Anvil trigger where you theoretically could cast an instant spell. And that's the only thing you're going to get to do that turn once we get this lock on the battlefield. So basically what we want to do is establish a board presence with a couple of aggro creatures on the battlefield, get this lock into play, and then ride that to victory while our opponents and us don't really have a hand anymore for the rest of the game and can't really play Magic. Luckily, we have quite a few things we can cast at instant speed, so we can kind of break the symmetry of this a little bit, but ultimately what we want to do is just run our opponent out of cards and then they don't get to play anything for the rest of the game. To help as an additional win con, if the opponent doesn't just scoop from decking themselves or we don't have a board presence already, we do have Orcish Bowmasters in the deck. The Anvil is an additional draw, so it does trigger Orcish Bowmasters, as long as they actually draw a card instead of milling with Chains of Mephistopheles. So if we can get the Chains, the Anvil, and an Orcish Bowmaster, our opponent's eventually going to have no hand whatsoever, and we're going to be able to ping them every single turn in their draw step with Orcish Bowmasters to eventually be able to kill them. It also works nicely with Burning Inquiry by forcing our opponent to draw cards to trigger Orcish Bowmasters as well. So that's what this deck is. It's a really cool, low to the ground, hybrid lock/aggro deck that is using discarding cards as its engine to be able to churn through the deck, power up our threats, and punish our opponent. Sideboard is kind of just a whole mess of random stuff here. This was another portion where I kind of changed a little bit of what Phil was doing here. During my testing, I found that up against big mana decks or up against like the Mystic Forge artifact combo decks, I was really having no shot whatsoever against them. So I have Blood Moons in the sideboard specifically for those big mana decks, Eldrazi, greedy mana based decks to give us a shot here. And then you just got a whole bunch of other kind of random stuff to do with various problems. You've got some Mullen Collapses for removal. Our only real removal in the main deck is Lightning Bolt. We can sack a Stalactite Stalker to kill something, but we're not going to be able to deal with large threats like a Murktide Regent or like a Thought-Knot Seer or something like that. So Molten Collapse is just a clean creature removal spell in the sideboard. Meltdown for various artifact decks to be able to mop up stuff out of like the blue painter decks, the Mystic Force style decks to wipe out all of their mana ramp stuff. Pyroblast to deal with opposing blue decks of various sorts to force your stuff through, or again, be able to kill something like a Tamiyo, be able to kill something like a Murktide Regent. Leyline of the Void to respect the ever-present graveyard decks that are running around the format, such as Reanimator, which is coming back to the top of the meta, and Oops All spells. And then Barrow-Goyf just have some additional big, low-to-the-ground threats and stuff to be able to tangle with your opponent's large creatures that don't have evasion that you normally can't really deal with stuff like Lightning Bolt and Stalactite Stalker. So let's see if we can get some Sharks drunk, profit from discarding our hand, and lock our opponent out with a really cool but janky lock here. I'll catch you all in the wrap-up. Play any of the decks you see on this channel with a Mana Traders rental subscription. With a variety of tiers to fit any budget, Mana Traders lets you play whatever you want in whatever format you want. Use code DasSourKraut at checkout and become a better player today. Alright, let's go. I mean, this is a little wonky. One land, but we have Faithless Lootings, and in theory, we have a turn 2 hollow one. If we hit another land and we're on the draw, I think we're going to go ahead and keep this. Give it a shot. Alright, opponent is on Eldrazi, which I feel like that's going to be a very rough matchup for us pre-board. This is actually one of the matches why I decided to change the original 3-menu list I was going to run. Because, like, these big mana ramp decks just, like, absolutely obliterated what we're trying to do here. So I decided we absolutely needed Blood Moons to try to even have a shot. Alright, opponent got rid of Lotus Petal, Glaring Fleshraker, and a Secluded Courtyard. Ancient Tomb from the opponent. Do they have a Chalice on one? If they do, this completely ruins our day. I'm hoping this is just a Endless one. Nope, it is a Chalice on one. Well, we need to hit some lands, and we need to hit them fast. Land? No, Dark Confidant. Okay. Well, we will play our Mountain Pass. Waste from the opponent, so we could be seeing a Glaring Fleshraker here. They already got rid of one. Yep, there's a Glaring Fleshraker. Okay. Do they have a 0-drop to follow it up? No. Unfortunately, this also shuts off our Lightning Bolts. Like, this actually shuts off, like, a full third of our deck, unfortunately. Well, we did hit a land. I think we're going to go ahead and slam Bob here. I don't want to quite feed my opponent cards yet. They may or may not have Wastelands. We can actually play this whole game on basics here, so I am just going to play around Wasteland. Some Eldrazi decks run it, some don't. And we're going to see how crazy they can pop off here. If they want to go up against this Glaring Flesh, or if they want to swing in with this Glaring Fleshraker, we will trade it off in a heartbeat for Bob. I'm actually super excited to see Bob getting reprinted in Standard. Like, I don't play Standard, but I always like seeing old favorite cards getting reprinted into Standard to see how they do. Ooh, fancy Cavern of Souls. I actually really do like this art. I don't particularly like the yellow one, but like this art in general and the neon colors, I actually really do like. Kind of sad how expensive this is. I'd like to grab one in paper for my EDH Elves deck, but white mana. It that heralds the end. Okay. There's nothing we can do here, so we're just going to pass a turn. This also means that their Glaring Fleshraker can kill Bob now. So we will not actually hand it off to him there. It looks like they are just going to get in here. They're hesitating, though. Maybe they think we have some kind of weird trick, but we have no mana open. Okay, there we go. Now the Fleshraker's getting into Rumble. Unfortunately, even if we get the, like, Chains Bogardan lock in, they already have so much stuff on the battlefield at this point that, like, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we hit a Stalker. I think we're just gonna go ahead and play the Anvil here. Yes, our opponent's gonna get the first card off of it, but we want to try to get to the point where we can play this hollow one. We're gonna hold back. We might throw this Bob in front of the Glaring Fleshraker. Like, them being able to get that Chalice down on turn one on the plays, honestly, I think what sealed the deal here. Because we were really banking on these Faithless Lootings pretty hard. I could have also played out a Stalker that turn, but I was kind of trying to wait. I have Ugin from the opponent. Well, actually, no, we couldn't anyways, because they had the Chalice on one, so it really wouldn't have mattered regardless. And there's the Devourer. Yeah, we're just going to scoop it up and go to the next one. That Chalice on one just completely wrecked us, unfortunately. Like, if they didn't have that, this would have been a completely different game, but they did, so it is what it is. We are going to bring in Blood Moons and Molten Collapses and Meltdowns. I think we are getting rid of our Lightning Bolts. And, I mean, the Bowmasters are bodies, but a lot of the Eldrazi lists are not playing... well, this is a win con with Anvil. Trying to think of what we even want to get rid of here. We got to trim two more. I think we might trim a Faithless Looting and a Burning Inquiry. Because I was about to say, they don't draw a lot of cards, but this is a win con with the Anvil Chains lock. But we got to get down on the board faster than they do. But let's try something like that. Okay, let's see if we can get down quickly here. I like the removal spells. I like that we don't really care about a Chalice here, so I think we're going to keep this. And we've got two removal spells to try to kill creatures of theirs. So, I actually like the setup. Alright, no Devourer Destiny this time from the opponent. We'll play a Polluted Delta and pass. Eldrazi Temple with no follow-up. Okay. I think we're going to go grab a Raucous Theater here, just get a Surveil in. Like, there's some tension between holding on to those for Stalactite Stalkers, but I think we want to smooth out our hand here, and if we can find a Blood Moon to slam down, that would be great. A Badlands, I don't think we need another land right now. We've still got two more in hand as it is. Into another Dark Confidant, so we'll just play this out. If they can kill it, we got another one. If they play something like a Thought-Knot Seer, we have two Molten Collapses, so we can have them take one and then just kill it. Unfortunately, it does, like, take two removal spells out of our deck for one creature, but it's what it is. We'll see what they do here. Alright, Cavern of Souls, so this could just be a Glaring Fleshraker, which we will kill with a Molten Collapse. Lotus Petal. Okay, so they can still Thought-Knot Seer if that's what they got. If they had a Fleshraker, they should have played it out first so that they could get the trigger off of the Lotus Petal. So this makes me think it's a Thought-Knot Seer. I've also got the Bob to kind of help filter through and catch back up on losing cards. Ooh, Wastegate Battle Mage. Okay. I mean, it bounces the Bob, but that's mostly fine. It's just a 2-2 body at this point. I'm not overly concerned about that. I would love to hit Blood Moon off the top here, because it just completely shuts down their mana. Stalactite Stalker. Okay, so I can play two cards here, and then I would like to get a second basic swamp, so I can play double black spells through a Blood Moon, but I feel like I cannot afford to get wastelanded off of red. And for the most part, I mean, like, everything we play that's black is a single black pip anyways. There's not a lot of turns where we're going to try to cast two black spells in one turn. Trigger the Stalactite Stalker. So I could trade the Stalker with the Wastegate Battle Mage. I could trade Bob with the Wastegate Battle Mage. Wait, okay, so they do have Wastelands in the deck. So it was good that I grabbed another dual land so they couldn't waste me off of any given color. If they waste me, it also drops them back down to 3 mana. Okay, Lotus Petal. So they still could do 4 mana here. Alright, they're making blue again, so I'm wondering if that means they have another Wastegate Battle Mage to bounce the Bob again. Nope, untap their mana. Okay, so either they tapped wrong or they changed their mind. Nope, doing the same thing again. Is this another Wastegate Battle Mage? Yep, it's another Battle Mage. I mean, that's fine for now. Like, if they want to bounce this Bob, that's totally fine. I actually probably should have held on to that other land now that... Oh, they're bouncing the Stalactite Stalker. Okay. We're gonna take it, and then since we have a redundant Bob, we're gonna swing in and see if they block next turn. So we will get our extra card off of our Bob. Hollow one, okay. And a Stalactite Stalker. So let's get in. And then we theoretically can trigger 2 Stalkers if they block this. Because if they block here, we just play both Stalkers. They both grow into 2/2s. Okay, so they're not going to block. We could also play a Stalker Molten Collapse one of these, or we could just play Redundant Bob. I think we're going to play a Stalker. And then we are going to Molten Collapse one of these. Like, I don't like using that on a small creature like that, but we are already down to 11. Because we unfortunately took 5 off of our Bob. Alright, there's the Thought-Knot Seer, so I'm guessing that means they're probably going to take the Molten Collapse that's in our hand. Luckily, if we can get to a point where we can play this Hollow one, it can tangle with the Thought-Knot Seer. They also appear to be missing lands. Or if for some reason they don't take the Molten... Okay, they do take the Molten Collapse. I was about to say, if for some reason they decide to take the Hollow one over the Molten Collapse, then we can just kill the Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, take 2, go to 9. Bob trigger. Orcish Bowmasters, that's a couple of blockers, and another Hollow one. So we can play a Stalactite Stalker. We could just play out Bob, double block everything to try to clear the board. Or we can Orcish Bowmasters. They know about it, but I think that's fine. Because what we can do is flash in the Bowmasters, ping the Thought-Knot Seer, block with a Stalker, or block with Dark Confidant, the token, and then block this with the 2 Stalkers or something. Alright, finally found some more mana. Now they're up to 7 mana. Really wish I'd found a Blood Moon by now. Worst case, if they just randomly stay back, we can always cycle a Hollow one. Or is this going to be like a Reality Smasher or something? It's 5 mana, so it very well could be. Kozilek's Command, Scry Draw, Make Dorks. Well, in that case then, we will flash in the Bowmaster, get our value off of it. Because this can kill the Wastegate Battle Mage. Because once they draw, we get another trigger, kill the Battle Mage, unless they randomly have, like, a Dismember. Alright, does not look like it. They make their dues, they get to scry 3, and then draw a card, which will put another trigger on the stack to bop that, and then they've got 5 mana still available. Let's just see all 3 to the bottom. Oh, all 3 to the bottom. Alright, well, we kill the Battle Mage, that gets 1 body off of the battlefield. And I can relatively profitably block this Thought-Knot Seer if they want to get in with it. Ooh, they are getting in with it. Okay, that's totally fine. We are going to give up our Bob here. This could mean they just have another one and they're going to take whatever we draw here, but we have a backup Bob. If they just play another one, that's fine. Okay, I like Stalker. That's not bad. Okay, they do not have a follow-up. I do not hate that at all. Okay, we hit a land. So what? We can play land, play Stalker. We can cycle a Hollow one, which gets us a Bob, and then this grows grows all of our Stalkers. I think it's safe to get in here. We get punished if they happen to have a Line Breaker, but I think we gotta just start getting aggro. We're always gonna yield to this. This also adds 3 power to the board, hits them for 3. Alright, looks like they don't got anything yet, so we might still be in this. We also have 2 Bobs if we want to play super reckless here. Waste from the opponent. Okay, they're just doing whatever they're doing post-combat. Okay, there's a Fleshraker. Do they have like a Kozilek's Command to back this up and kill us? Unfortunately, I don't have 3 mana up to be able to kill this Fleshraker. Alright, we're seeing something here. Grim Monolith, okay. So, they've got 1 card in hand. Ping us for 1. What is that last card, opponent? If it's a Kozilek's Command, we just die. It is a Wastegate Battle Mage. What are they going to bounce? Are they bouncing one of the Stalkers? No, they're bouncing the Bowmaster. Okay. This puts us to 4. Alright, they are empty-handed. We get a Marauding Mako. That is interesting. So, we could Mako. We could cycle one of these to try to... We could actually cycle both of these if we really wanted to. I think we're going to go ahead and get in here, see how they want to block, and plan accordingly. Because these all have menace, so they can only block 2 of them. They could also just take all of this. Alright, they are just going to take all of it. They are down to 9. We can play Bowmasters. We can play Anvil of Bogardan plus Bowmasters, which might be our best bet because that allows us to kill this Glaring Fleshraker. It doesn't grow our stuff, but I think this is our best bet. Unfortunately, it does give them 2 cards to try to find a way out of this, but we'll play Anvil of Bogardan. With this trigger on the stack, we flash in Bowmasters, ping Glaring Fleshraker, they draw, we kill Glaring Fleshraker. So with this trigger on the stack, we flash in Bowmasters, ping the Fleshraker, and as long as they didn't hit a Kozilek's command, they pitched a It that heralds the end. That doesn't kill us, so either they hit the Kozilek's command or they hit something better. Okay, they did not hit the Kozilek's command. What is your 1-card, opponent? We will also snap block this Wastegate Battle Mage. Alright, just passing the turn. We are still in a very precarious spot here. We're also at a point where I don't think Blood Moon does much for us here, unfortunately. We will chuck a Dark Confidant, and we can actually go kind of crazy here. We will play the Mako, and then we can Faithless Looting. That'll grow the Mako. It'll allow us to play Hollow 1 for 1 man. Actually, it'll allow us to play Hollow 1 for free. Another Anvil and a Burning Inquiry. Okay. I like that a lot. Chuck Dark Confidant, Anvil of Bogardan, grow the Mako, play Hollow 1 for free, and then cast Burning Inquiry. We're just going to discard all of our cards, but it's going to grow the Mako, get 3 triggers off of the Bowmaster. We'll put Mako on bottom, Bowmaster there, and we will get rid of one of their creatures. They can fizzle one of these triggers, I really don't care. They just let it go, and then Mako gets big, and then get in with everything, and our opponents scoop the match. Okay, apparently they really don't like playing against Burning Inquiry. On to the next one. Alright, won the die roll. Let's go. I mean, we're banking on this Faithless Looting, but I think we're going to keep since we're on the play here. We don't have to worry about getting chaliced. Kind of just want to set up to have lands at this point. We can get the Chains locked down pretty quick. Start out with our Badlands, play a Faithless Looting. 2 lands. Okay. I think for now, let's get rid of Hollow 1. I don't know how good Lightning Bolt's going to be, so we'll get rid of Hollow 1 and Lightning Bolt and pass the turn. Next turn, we will probably plan on Stalkering. Then after that, Chains, after that, Anvil, and hope that our opponent just doesn't have anything on board at that point. This also insulates us a bit against a Wasteland. Island from the opponent, okay. Into a Tamiyo, okay. Well, in that case then, do we just want to get Chains down now? I don't think we do. I think we're going to go ahead and play Stalker, and then just grow it. We can pay for a daze. If they don't counter this, or if they don't try to daze this, we're going to go ahead and just go grab a Rockets Theater. Okay, they did not daze it. We are going to go ahead and grab a Rockets Theater here to set up our next draw, hopefully. Trigger Descend. We are going to go ahead and keep the Swamp, actually, and pass the turn. And then our plan is next turn, play Bloodstained Mire, crack it to grow the Stalactite Stalker, play Chains. Okay, they had a Fatal Push. Okay. I think we're still going to go ahead and kind of just stick with what I said we were going to do here. Hopefully they don't have the Brainstorm to flip the Tamiyo yet. Okay, they don't seem to yet. They haven't had any counter magic yet either, so we're going to play this. Play Chains of Mephistopheles. The ultimate, reading the card does not explain the card. Granted, the new wording and templating on Magic Online is much better. If you've never seen this card, never played against it, basically, if your opponent would draw, except for the first card they draw in their draw step, okay, they have a Force of Will. You discard a card first and then draw, and if you can't discard a card, then you just straight up mill. So no one ever gains card advantage. You get card selection, and if you mix that with like Anvil of Bogardan, then your opponent is going to go down 1 card every single draw step because they have to discard for Anvil in addition to the draw off of it. So they actually will go down cards. 3 cards in hand, 2 cards in hand, a really large Barrogoyf already. Holy shit. I will say this deck has an issue with stuff like this. There is a Stalactite Stalker. We will play Stalker. we will trigger Stalker. And as much as I hate to do this, I think we have to Burning Inquiry here. We just need to find something to do. It's gonna flip the Tamiyo for them. They lost 2 lands and a Children's Edict. We lost a Lightning Bolt, a Burning Inquiry, and we just held on to Anvil of Bogardan. Unfortunately, I think we're probably just dead here. I will not play the Anvil yet. Like, we just don't have a good way pre-board to be able to deal with a Barrogoyf. And this is leaning toward this is the tempo build, not the Reanimator build. I'll take the Tamiyo, okay. They could slam a Murktide Regent here. Unfortunately, we are just on chump block duty here. Like I said, I think this one slipped away from us. We just don't have a good way to deal with this Barrogoyf. Into Barrogoyf number 2. Okay. Yeah, we're going to give this a draw. We have a Lightning Bolt. Let's Faithless Looting. Just see if we can hit anything relevant here. Chain. Yeah, they've got too much on board. We're going to go to the next one. Unfortunately, we literally just cannot deal with Barrogoyf pre-board. It just doesn't work. That said, we are going to bring in our own Barrogoyfs, Molten Collapses, and Pyroblasts. I really hate to do it, but I think we're just going to take the Anvils out entirely. I think that little combo is just a little too cute for what our opponent is doing. And then we're going to trim the hollow ones. Our Barrogoyfs are just better. Let's try that. Alright, let's see what we got here. I actually like this. We're going to go ahead and keep this. We're just going to play a Stalker on one. I think we're going to go grab a basic here. We didn't see Wastelands out of our opponent, but they're very clearly the tempo build. So we are going to try to play around Wasteland as much as we can. Grab a Swamp, play Stalker, ship the turn. I like that we have Barrogoyf and Bowmasters to try to be able to punish our opponent. It's a little rough that we can't Mako and Looting in the same turn right now based off of what we have, but I really don't want to just get completely cheesed out by a Wasteland here. Opponent let it off with a Misty, cracking that right away, into an Underground Sea, into a Thoughtseize. What do you value here, opponent? I wouldn't be surprised to see them take the Bowmaster. They might also take the Barrogoyf since it's what can tangle with their big creatures. Okay, they do value the Bowmaster. That's kind of what we thought was going to happen, to be honest. And opponent passes the turn. Okay. We hit a Lightning Bolt. We are going to go ahead and get in with the Stalker. And I think we're going to Faithless Looting now while they don't have a Bowmaster of their own up. Burning Inquiry, Marauding Mako. I think we're just going to get rid of the Mako and the Inquiry and plan on slamming a Barrogoyf next turn. Or bolting something that they do. Unfortunately, our Barrogoyfs are always going to be the same size. Misty Rainforest from the opponent. Cracks it. 2 mana. Sheoldred's Edict. Okay. Do they have a counter for our Barrogoyf becomes the question. Do we just want to run it out into a potential Daze? Well, since we drew a land, I think we're just going to pass the turn, hold up Lightning Bolt, and then try to play Barrogoyf around Daze next turn. Okay, opponent does have Wastelands, so we're not going to be able to play around Daze next turn, which is fine. I should have floated red there, just realized that, but it is what it is. And they can flip the Tamiyo instantly. Yeah, we needed to float red there. Oh well. I mean, it honestly probably wouldn't have mattered. They would have changed phases and then done this in second main phase. So it's not super duper relevant. Burning Inquiry. Well, you got a Daze, you got a Daze. We just have to try to get something on board. No, they have a Force of Will. Pitching a Force of Will, okay. And they can downtick Tamiyo, get a Force back, but then we can just try to bolt it. This deck feels like it's a really hard time up against these like blue-black tempo decks. I'm not gonna lie. Blooded Strain from the opponent. Upticking Tamiyo, okay. Stalactite Stalker. Alright, we are going to Stalker. I mean, if they got a Bowmasters, they got a Bowmasters, but we kind of just gotta go for it. And they got a Bowmaster. Of course they do. Yeah, my experience is honestly, this matchup just seems like borderline unwinnable. And we hit a Mako. We'll give this like another draw, see if we can hit anything relevant, but if they get to ultimate this Tamiyo, the game is just over. Our only hope is that like we end up top decking one of our own Bowmasters and we can flash an in response to a Tamiyo ultimate, and that they just don't have any kind of counter magic to go along with it. Fetching with their Flooded Strand, okay. Grabbing another Underground Sea. We're gonna take a hit for 5 here. I'm taking the Tamiyo. Yeah, we basically just gotta hope that we top deck a Bowmaster and that they don't have any kind of interaction. and we can get them with the Bowmaster Tameo ult. Like if we hit a land, we also theoretically have another draw into it. Or we just have to Faithless Looting, take the hit, hope for the best. Into Double Bob, yeah, that doesn't do it. Okay, on to the next one. Alright, lost the die roll, but I like this hand. We're going to keep it. We're just going to start out with a Mako on 1, and then hopefully get into Chains of Mephistopheles on 2. Swamp from the opponent. Okay. We are going to play around a potential opposition agent here and just play the non-fetch land. This does mean that they could, like, Bowmaster this if they want to, but we can Bowmaster their Bowmaster next turn. And we do have the Chains Anvil combo. Lotus Petal. Okay, are they on Storm? Swamp. Okay. Well, we are probably just going to play Chains then. Let's get in with the Mako, see if they do anything. Alright, they are doing something. They're flashing in an opposition agent, so I'm going to fetch in response. And we are going to grab a Badlands. We also can actually just flash in and kill this opposition agent, because they can block it, and then we will just flash in Bowmasters to kill it. Because this looks like it actually is Black Stompy now. If they have a Bowmaster to Bowmaster our Bowmaster, I mean, it's annoying. Okay. So we kind of just gotta hope that they don't have a Bowmasters of their own at this point. Wasteland, okay. That's totally fine. Him to Turok. Okay, they got rid of 2 lands, that's fine. We don't actually particularly care about that. We hit a Faithless Looting, okay. We will fetch. We are going to go ahead and grab another Badlands, play a Chains of Mephistopheles, and hope that they either don't have a Bowmaster of their own, or that they just don't have a discard spell, and then we can get Anvil down, get the lot going, and then we're going to be able to ping them out with Bowmaster eventually. 3rd black mana, okay. Okay, well, him to Turok will do it. But they're running out of cards. And we still got 2 mana, so we can play almost anything that we can, or draw. Unfortunately, we did lose our Rocket Seed already, so if it's a fetch land... Okay, Lightning Bolt is good. That can kill an opposing creature. We can also fire it off at face in response to another discard spell. And opponent's not doing anything. This could be another flash creature, or, hear me out, we're just going to play Anvil Bogardan and pass the turn. And then we are not going to get got by a flash blocker here. I mean, we can get in with the Orc army, but I think we're going to hold back. I don't want to get got by another opposition agent or something. They could have a Bowmaster of their own that they were trying to surprise block with. Or they've just got a Shoulder's Edict. Okay. Well, we are going to hope that we can just kill our opponent now, because they're going to go down a card before we do. And they're going to be stuck playing the game at instant speed, and we have a creature on board. Okay, so they're a Necro Dominance mono black deck. Okay. And they're down to 2 cards. And then we can go ahead and Bolt upkeep, and then we just lose our card, which is fine-ish. We hit a Stalker, so, I mean, we're losing everything anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and Bolt and hope that our opponent doesn't have anything that they can cast, because then they're just going to go down all their cards next turn. And we are not going to give up our creature to a flash blocker. Okay, they got an opposition agent. Okay. So, I mean, that is something. We can still draw instant speed removal. Like, we can draw another one of our lightning bolts to kill that. Or we can theoretically draw another Bowmaster. We're just going to take the hit for 3 for now. Like, the only problem is this whole combo is symmetrical. And we hit a lightning bolt. So we will bolt this guy. And then we're going to get in. Like, now we're just going to get in. If they have another flash blocker, they have another flash blocker, so be it. And it doesn't look like it. Now they're going to be hellbent after this. There's nothing I can do this turn. They'd have to draw something they can cast at instant speed here. And it doesn't look like they do. Chuck to shoulder and hit a land. Okay. So we are both in the point of we basically just have to draw flash threats and cast them in our upkeep. That said, they probably have more opposition agents. They probably have more Orcish Bowmasters. As do we. Okay, we lose Bob. That's fine. Lose Burning Inquiry. And it's just a matter of who finds their flash threats first. We also still have 2 more lightning bolts. And we can just F6 through our opponent's turn. It's just going to be us trading F6 back and forth. Discarded a Swamp. Discarded him to Turok. We also just gotta hope that we might be able to kill them in 11 turns before they draw anything relevant, or we draw relevant stuff first. Land that we can't do anything with, and another land, and we hit you to 10, and we ship the turn. And we hope we dodge for 5 turns, or we find some more flash stuff to do. We can't do anything, so we'll just have 6. Chuck to Dauthi Voidwalker. Chuck to Shoulder's Edict, okay. Still dodging. Marauding Mako we can't do anything with. And a Burning Inquiry we can't do anything with. Attack with our 1/1. And ship the turn. I mean, we're seeing how this lock works. However, like I said, our opponent does have flash stuff that they could draw into. Since they appear to be a mono black necro deck, they probably have Fel the Profanes as well. I'm surprised they're not casting these Shoulder's Edicts. But I do think the second card you draw, you can't cast. It has to be the first one. I don't think there's any passing of priority because this is a replacement effect. So it's always got to be the first card you draw is what you can cast. We drew a Lightning Bolt, which we will send to face to increase our clock. And then we didn't have anything, so we milled a land. And then we get in. Gotta fade 5 more turns or find our last bolt or one of our 3 other Bowmasters. Chucked a Voidwalker. Chucked one of their Bowmasters. Good. I like to see that. And our opponent scoops it up. Okay. We got to see the full-on lock come into play. I like it. Up against what our opponent's doing here, I think we want Molten Collapses and Barrogoyfs in. That combo is a little wonky. I think we're going to trim it a bit. And then I think we're going to trim 1 Burning Inquiry because they have Bowmasters as well. Let's try that. Okay. This isn't terrible. We can start out with a Descended Stalactite Stalker and then have double Bowmaster available to us. We do have to worry about, like, Dark Ritual into an opposition agent. That would be very bad. But I don't remember seeing any Dark Rituals from our opponent. We are going to go on basics because our opponent could have Wasteland. So we'll grab a Swamp, play a Stalactite Stalker, ship the turn. Fatal Push on the Stalker. Okay. It gets a removal spell out of hand, so I'm okay with that. In Swamp into Lotus Petal from the opponent. Okay. And a pass. So we could have to worry about a, whatchamacallit here, opposition agent. But we can try to wait for them to tap down. So we will just play a Scalding Tarn so we can still play off of basics. And then we can react to whatever they do, wait for them to tap down, and then we can do our own thing. A Shouldered would be annoying, but not the end of the world. But it looks like they're just passing the turn, which means they're either holding up a Bowmaster or they're holding up an opposition agent. We will play a Hollow one and pass the turn. We're just kind of playing a game of chicken at this point. Go ahead, duress me, opponent. I have literally nothing for you to take. And they're very, very clearly telegraphing that they do, in fact, have opposition agent. Okay, Lightning Bolt is interesting here. We can get the action out of them, and I think this is worth it, because we can do this. They're going to flash their oppo in response, and then we can fetch Lightning Bolt it. Really? Interesting. Okay. I mean, I suppose that is a thing they can do. I'm very surprised they're not flashing anything in yet. We're just going to do that and pass. Maybe they figured that that meant that we drew a removal spell to take it. But we'll just hold this up and pass, I guess. We can flash in a Bowmaster. I thought for sure they had an Oppo agent by the way they were playing. Alright, well, opponent still isn't doing anything. So I think we're going to try to do the same thing again. Just kind of try to force the action here. If they have Oppo agent, we just... Okay, yeah, they got Oppo agent, so now we just bolt it. And then we can flash into Bowmasters before they can do anything. While their mana's tapped out. Or we can get a Raucous Theater. I think we're just going to get a Raucous Theater here. Set up our draw. Because I'd like some more mana if possible. Stalker... I don't think we want Stalker. I think we want lands right now. Into another Hollow one. I think we're just going to slam a Barrogoyf here. I don't know if we're going to get a better shot to slam one. They could have a Fatal Push to get rid of it. They could have some Edicts, but if they have Edicts, it's got to be on their turn. Wasteland, okay. That they're not popping off right away. Okay. Are they just going to do a second main phase? No. Well, if they let us get into our turn, we have a chance to be able to Bowmaster in response to it. Okay. I mean, we'll just flash in the Bowmaster. If they have a Bowmaster of their own, that's fine. We don't super care about Bowmaster at this point. This also gives us insulation against Edict effects. And we hit another land anyway, so if they Bowmaster us, we can Bowmaster them. And we will go ahead and get in with the Goy, see what they do here. They do have a Bowmaster, that's fine. I'm assuming, yep, they're going to Bowmaster our Bowmaster. We will Bowmaster their Bowmaster in response. Unfortunately, they do have the prettier Bowmaster than we do. And this way, okay, so they were just doing that to get a Fatal Push online, that's fine. We can just slam another Barrowgoyf next turn. I'm not particularly concerned about that. We could also just Marauding Mako, cycle a Hollow one. Okay, they had another Bowmaster. That's fine. Now, our Orc armies are the same size. Unfortunately, this does turn on an Edict to be able to selectively hit our Barrowgoyf now, if that's what it comes down to. I will trade off this Orc army if they want to get in. Okay, they are getting in. Does that mean they have another Bowmaster? Or do they just want to clear the board? Looks like they just want to clear the board. 2 cards left in hand. Dark Confidant. I think we're just going to go ahead and flood the board here. Hold off on the Barrowgoyf. I don't want to lose it to an Edict effect. And if this sticks around as card advantage that doesn't draw. And I've got 2 of the Hollow ones in hand already. Alright, opponent is going to Fatal Push the Bob. If they want to get in with the Bowmaster, we're just going to let them hit us for 1. I'm okay with that. Yeah. That is totally fine because I want Edicts. Okay, they just had another Fatal Push, so I wasn't blocking anyways. Okay, they're down to 1 card in hand. We might just have to play out this Barrowgoyf and just hope that we can dodge Edicts, but we'll see. I draw land. Yeah, we're just going to play out a Barrowgoyf. And if their last card is an Edict, so be it. We're 1 mana away from just being able to cast these Hollow ones. And then we're both kind of just in top deck mode at that point. Yep, they had an Edict. Okay, they're in top deck mode. We're in top deck mode. We're 1 mana away from being able to cast a bigger creature than they can. This also gets them off of Shouldered Mana, if that's what they have. We did see him to Turox, though, so they could strip our hand here. Alright, get in for 1. That's fine. Okay, Faithless Looting. Unfortunately, I think we need to fire this off so that we can cast these Hollow ones. Mako and Confidant, we just chuck those. You can get a 2/2. And then we get both of these in for 1 mana. And now we have the biggest creatures on board. So they can't realistically get in with any of their creatures now. Another Shoulder's Edict, okay. I mean, they're a mono black deck. They are loaded to the gills with removal spells. They're also still off of being able to cast a Shouldered. They now have 4 mana so that they could if they wanted to. And I think I need to start pressing my advantage with this Hollow one here. We will win the race. And we had to change the Mephistopheles. I don't think we want to cast that yet. Or maybe we do. Like, we're not realistically drawing cards until after they get rid of this Bowmaster. So, yeah, let's just slam the chains. Screw it. This also shuts off their Necrodominance from being able to pop off. Polluted Delta. We will play that, so if we draw another one of our Hollow ones, we can cast it. I think we are going to hang back this turn. Oppo Agent, okay. We can block that. That's not a problem. There was no point in cracking the Polluted Delta there, I don't think. We're still bit... And they hit a Shoulder's Edict. Okay. So we need to hit something good here to be able to get back in the game. I think they just hit enough. I mean, we saw all 4 Fatal Pushes. We saw 3 of 4 Shoulder's Edicts. Like, they just had all of the possible removal here. And we hit a Stalker. We're just dead. Okay, yep. We'll go to the next one. That's fine. They just had all the removal in the world, which is fine. They are a mono black deck. I don't think we're going to change anything here. I think we're just going to run it back. Okay, let's see if we can get game 3 here. I don't hate this. We'll go ahead and keep. We will start out with a Scalding Tarn, crack it for a Badlands, play and grow a Stalker. And next turn we will probably Mako Raucous Theater, Swamp from the opponent. Do you have the Fatal Push? Lotus Petal. Edict, Fatal Push, what do you got over there? Dark Ritual, okay. So they do have rituals in the deck. Him to Torok, okay. Well, they took our Mako and our Dark Confidant. And Orcish Bowmasters. I mean, luckily, that's not enough to be able to kill our whatchamacallit here. I would love an untapped land to be able to Bowmaster their Bowmaster. That is an untapped land. We will go ahead and fetch before they get Oppo Agent online. Grab a Badlands. Bowmaster your Bowmaster. So we can profitably get in with Stalactite Stalker. And then this will grow the Stalker at end of turn. And hopefully they kind of just blew their whole load on that line there. Okay. See what our opponent does here. Ooh, missing land drops. I like that. Getting in with the Orc army? I mean, Fatal Push kills anything anyway, so I think we're just going to go ahead and get rid of the Orc army with our Bowmaster token. Army for army. Alright, and it looks like they just wanted to get something off of the board here. We can grab a polluted delta and then get in. I'm not going to get in with the Bowmaster. We saw that they have dark rituals. I don't want to see this get. Okay, they're just going to kill that. That's fine. And then we don't have to go ahead and crack this polluted delta yet, so we won't. And opponent is passing. Okay. Lightning Bolt. I like that. We will Raucous Theater. Burning Inquiry, I actually don't hate that. We will put that on top of our library. Because we can Bowmaster and then hit Burning Inquiry. We will get in here. If they got the 1-mana removal spell, they got the 1-mana removal spell. If they ritual out a creature, we can Lightning Bolt it. Dark Ritual, what are they going to do here? Is this an Edict? Is Opposition Agent? We are just going to bolt that. I want the top card on my deck, so we will just bolt that. If they ritual out another agent, then we can go ahead and just fetch it away. Okay. Now the question becomes is do we actually want it? Because it could have Bowmaster now. I don't think we do anymore. Because they could have Bowmaster. Let's just grab a Badlands. We're already not playing around Wasteland anyways. And I think their mana is too precious to them. I would just draw a Burning Inquiry anyways. I mean, since we drew it, screw it. You got the Bowmaster? They're not instantly snapping it off. Okay, they're just going to Fatal Push my Bowmaster so that they're not taking damage. That's fine. Keep this hollow one? No, we Stalactite Stalker. But that is fine because the Stalker's going to grow. Our opponent has 1 card in hand, and we've got a Faithless Looting in the graveyard to be able to flash back. Another Lotus Petal from the opponent. Okay. Edict Effect? No, Necro Dominance. Okay. Well, that is risky unless they have the pitch spells. But this looks like a deck that's probably just playing Fair Necro Dominance at this point. Yeah, they're just playing a Fair Necro at this point. Hopefully they didn't hit anything too crazy. They got rid of a redundant Necro Dominance. We have a land. Let's go ahead and Faithless Looting. See if we can hit like a hollow one or something. Or some bolts. A bunch of lands. Okay. Well, we just gotta hope that they didn't find a Shouldered. If they did, we're just dead. They're down to 9. Did they find a Shouldered in all of those cards that they got? Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, that's totally fine. I do not care about a Dauthi Voidwalker. Are they going to Necro again? They do. They go all the way to 4. So they're going to go down to 1 after I hit them. And they would need either land, Lotus Petal, and Shouldered, or another Dark Ritual and Shouldered to be able to turn the corner with Necro. But even then, well, actually, they can't even do that because they have 1 card. They can't pay any life to be able to get off or go off with Shouldered. So I think we might have this one, as long as they don't have an answer for this Stalker, I think we have this one locked up. They got rid of a Voidwalker, a Hymn to Turok, and an Oppo agent. Okay. And we can just play the hollow one. Or we can cycle it. Well, we're going to get in. I think we're going to go ahead and just play it so that if they have a removal spell that they think they're going to get rid of the Stalactite Stalker with, it doesn't matter. Put you to 1. You cannot use Necrodominance anymore. And then we will fetch. Grab another Badlands. Like I said, we're not playing around Wasteland anyways. And then full price, 5 mana hollow one. You've got 2 lethal threats you have to find a way to deal with. And this one doesn't die to Fatal Push. And we grow the Stalker. And we can't do anything, so we'll just Essex through the turn. They don't get to draw anything, so whatever the 5 cards in their hand are have to be good here. Shouldered's Edict. I think we're going to get rid of the Stalker because the hollow one can't be killed by Fatal Push, if that's what they have. And they're going to Dauthi Voidwalker to play Stalactite Stalker to get a blocker? Okay, that's fine. They've got 3 cards left to try to win the game with. And we just hit another hollow one, so let's get in. They have to block with the Stalker, which is fine. And we will cast another hollow one. You need 2 removal spells or 2 blockers, or a removal spell and a blocker to be able to survive, but you're not drawing any more cards for the rest of the game. So those 3 cards better win you the game, and it doesn't. Alright, taking down Mono Black Aggro. I like it. On to the next one. Alright, won the die roll. Let's go. Yeah, I like this. We'll go ahead and keep this. We will start out with a Bloodstained Mire, go grab a Swamp, play a Stalactite Stalker, and we can play around Wasteland for the first 2 turns of the game. Grab a Swamp, play Stalactite Stalker, And then next turn, depending on what we draw, we can either just Raucous Theater to try to set up our next draw, or we can Burning Inquiry, hope that we hold on to this hollow one, cast it for free. So I know that that's its mouth, the like orange thing right here, but every time I look at this card at a glance, I just feel like this is a goblin with like this crazy ass like police chief mustache. Alright, trigger the Stalker. Volcanic Island from the opponent, so this could be Delver, but they're not doing anything yet, so we'll see. We hit a Faithless Looting, so because we can actually control what we draw here, and it guarantees we hold on to this hollow one, I think that's what we're going to do. Let's spin Burning Inquiry and Faithless Looting. Cast Hollow One for 1. If this gets dazed, so be it. We hold on to an Orcish Bowmaster. We can play around a daze next turn. Alright, Hollow One's in, so they didn't have a daze. Do you have a Bolt for the Stalker? It looks like yes. Yes, they have a Lightning Bolt for the Stalker. Okay. I was mildly concerned about them having a Lightning Bolt for the Stalker and dazing the Hollow One, but... Okay, so it's Grixis of some sort. Unable to Scream. Interesting. I mean, that does neuter our Hollow One. Into a Beaumont Courier. Our opponent's on some janky shit here. Like, we can kill the Beaumont Courier. Oh, I forgot this can still block. I took 1 damage for no real reason. That's fine. I was thinking this is one of those things that basically deletes it from the game. That is a Badlands. We will pass the turn. And we're going to try to hit a cantrip if they have one. So it's funny. The original version of the deck that I'm playing now actually had Beaumont Courier in it, but I decided to get rid of it for Hollow One because it just seemed better in the deck. And this is why we held on to the Bowmaster, to try to snipe a Brainstorm or something. Okay, so opponent's Brainstorming over the top. That's fine. They can get 1 Brainstorm in. We can pay for a daze. It has to be a force. They're also pseudo Brainstorm locking themselves here because they're only going to see 1 additional card off of this Brainstorm. I mean, like, it's not Brainstorm lock, but it's making this Brainstorm much worse now. Alright, we are going to just ping the Beaumont Courier, get rid of that. And then we will hit them in the face for this one. Alright, Bowmaster triggers Resolve, hit you in the face. Get a new 4/4 to replace our Hollow One that got neutered. Looted Delta from the opponent, okay. Cracks that. For another Volcanic Island. And, okay, so they have a bunch of these. I'm wondering if this might be a, like, this town style deck that they can bounce these and move them around? So how is this worded? Okay, so Enchanted Creature loses all abilities, becomes a 0/2 in addition to other types. Okay, yeah, that doesn't actually neuter this because it's got the +1/+1 counters on it. We can still attack with it, and they scoop it up after that. So it actually ended up making our Orc Army better because it gave it +2 toughness that it didn't need. That said, against what our opponent's doing, let's bring in Pyrogoyfs. They're a 3-color deck, so I think Blood Moon might actually be pretty good against what they're doing here. Seeing as they have these weird enchantment cards, I don't think Hollow One's what we want to be doing. And I think we might trim 1 Anvil of Bogardan. Because, like, their removal spells just straight up neuter Hollow One, so I don't think it's very good here. And since they're multicolor, cutting them off of 2 colors seems pretty relevant here. So let's try something like that. Okay, I like this. We can start off with Mako on 1 and go from there, and this leaves us options. We can play on basics. Blood is turned from the opponent, cracks it right away. Into a Underground Sea, into a Thoughtseize? What do they value in this hand? I feel like probably the Bowmaster. Alright, they took the Mako. So that's probably going to change our turn 1 then. We're probably just going to play Scalding Tarn pass, plan on grabbing a Raucous Theater, and drawing Blood Moon is nice. So if we hit some lands, then we might just go ahead and, like, hold up Bowmaster, flash it in end of turn to try to get some interaction from the opponent, and then play Blood Moon to try to shut them off of, in theory, their black and their blue mana. We did not see any basics out of our opponent in game 1, so a Blood Moon might just be straight up game over to them. Granted, we didn't really see any red cards either, but I'm gonna guess they're in there for, like, Lightning Bolts and possibly Dragon's Rage Channelers. But I don't 100% know what our opponent's doing. If they are playing a this town deck, they've got Artist Talent. I just don't know any other reason why you'd be playing that Unable to Scream. Unless it is specifically to respect Bowmaster. Beaumont Courier, that's fine. Get in with the Courier, that's fine. And ships the turn. We will go ahead and fetch this. Go grab a Raucous Theater. We have our black mana available to us already. Pyro Blast. I actually think we're going to keep that on top. Because we're just going to go ahead and play Swamp, pass the turn, hold up Bowmasters. if they can like do a flurry of spells into like a Murktide region, then we can Pyroblast the Murktide region. Alright, opponent's getting in with the Bowmont Courier. Exiling another card face down, that's fine. I'm not, like, I can flash in the Bowmaster now to kill that, but I'm going to wait until end of turn. If they want to pop in response to the Bowmaster, they get rid of 5 cards. Alright, end step, we will flash in the Bowmaster now. Try to get some interaction out of our opponent. We do not. Hit the Bowmat Courier. And they just let it go. And we hit another Bowmaster. Interesting. I think because they have open Bowmaster mana, we are going to respect that and not cast this Faithless Looting. And just hold up a second Bowmaster of our own. Alright, they just shipped the turn. 2 blue mana. What is this? Mockingbird. They're going to copy our Bowmaster. I think we're going to go ahead and counter this. Like, we could Bowmaster it back in response, but I'd rather not lose our first Bowmaster so that we can theoretically double up on it. If we don't hit a land... Okay, we did not hit a land, so I am going to go ahead and cast Faithless Looting now. Into another Faithless Looting. Let's get rid of Anvil and one of our Blood Moons. We can play Stalker, which is going to grow. So this is interesting. They're trying to copy stuff. Is this just like some weird super low to the ground Grixis aggro deck? I really don't know what they're doing over there. Mockingbird is an interesting choice. You normally only see that in like the Jeskai energy decks. Then again, opponent could just be on a crazy brew of their own. You do see those from time to time. I mean, I'm one to talk. I'm definitely not playing a meta deck myself. Okay, so they do have lightning bolts. They decided to take out the Stalker. And another Beaumont Courier. Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering if this is just some kind of like hyper aggro Grixis deck. And the Beaumont Couriers are just to refuel their hand after they've run everything out. Alright, so we have a land. They're tapped down. We're just going to go ahead and go for it here. Like, we have our black mana available to us, and if we can shut them off of all of their other colors other than red, it's probably going to leave just Beaumont Couriers and Lightning Bolts. And we haven't seen any counter magic out of them yet. But I mean, they've got blue, so it's very possible. They could daze this. They could force a will this if they have it. And our opponent scoops it up to the Blood Moon. Okay, on to the final round. Alright, final round. Positive record is locked. Won the die roll. Let's go. I don't hate this. Turn 1, hold up a Surveil Land or Lightning Bolt. We will go ahead and start out with the Scalding Tarn. Makes me think maybe we're on Delver, Blue-Black Reanimator, something like that. Like I said, we can hold up Lightning Bolt or a Surveil Land. And then next turn we can play land, hold up Orcish Bowmasters. Meticulous Archive. Okay, so this is probably some form of control, or it could be like Bant Nadu, or some breakfast style deck, but we are going to go ahead and grab our own Surveil Land here. Grab the Raucous Theater. We do not need a redundant Anvil, but the jig is kind of up that we're on something weird now. Chains of Mephistopheles. Okay. Well, we will play a Polluted Delta pass, plan on holding up Bowmasters, hope that it resolves, and then slam a chain, start working toward potentially getting this Anvil online and getting the whole lockdown. But they're going to have a ton of cards in hand to start, so they're going to be able to work through it pretty easily, I think. Into a Ponder. I don't think we're going to need to worry about land destruction from the opponent based off of what we're seeing here. So we are just going to grab all of our colors. And we will see if this gets any kind of interaction from our opponent here. This could get Dazed, which will give us information. It could get Force of Willed. It appears to be neither. It could get Swords to Plowshared. But it appears like it's not yet. Alright, they did not shuffle off of their Ponder. So they found something they like. Fetches with the Flooded Strain to clear the rest of the Ponder. Okay, Esper something. Thoughtseize. Okay. I mean, we got a bunch of juicy ones here. I have a feeling they're probably going to take the Chains, because that just straight up like shuts down their cantrips. They might also take the Dark Confidant because they don't want us to get card advantage, but we'll see. Alright, they took the Bob. Okay. So they think they can work around the Chains, or they just don't care. We will get in, then we will play our land, so that we can play this Chains around a daze, play the land, play a Chains, holding up red mana. Alright, that resolves, so their cantrips are very much shut down in general right now. Polluted Delta from the opponent, okay. They have a Bowmasters of their own. Okay. That's fine. We will probably attempt to bolt that. But we might actually play around Daze, actually. Because we don't really have anything else we can do right now anyways. Like, we can't do anything with this hollow one, and we can always cycle it on our own turn to hit this Bowmaster. So I'd rather play around days, I think. Because this looks like it might just be like Esper tempo, Esper control. We hit a Bob of our own. Let's go ahead and bolt the Bowmaster. We will get in with our Orc Army token. And they cared enough about the Dark Confidant before that I feel like this will get a counter out of hand if they have one. But so far, we haven't seen any counter magic out of them, so I guess we'll see if they have removal for it. Cracking the Delta. They are down to 9 into a Tundra, so maybe this is a Swords to Plowshares? Yes, Swords on the Bob. That's fine. 3 mana. What is this? This could be a Prismatic Ending. This could be a Murktide Region. This could be a Barrogoyf. No! Oh, it's an Oculus! Okay. While that is annoying, I guess it's not the end of the world? We don't really have a good answer for it, though, is the problem. Now, the question is, do they have the full, like, Oculus Stifle Knot combo in here? Alright, whatever it was better than a Swords to Plowshares. I think we want to cycle this here, unfortunately, because we're not really doing anything else, and we can't really beat what's on board at the moment. Oh, right, that's how that works. My bad. We hit another Bob, so we will just play this. Completely forgot I had to discard before I drew a card. Can you handle Bob number 3, opponent? We can just F6 through the turn. We can't do anything after this anyways. If they got a counter, they got a counter. Alright, it resolved. And then we're not going to bother attacking, because it just sends it to its death. They'll block with the Oculus. We can't really swing it until after they start attacking with the Oculus. And a Barrogoyf. Okay, I'm pretty confident this one has swung away from us here. Because, as I've said before, we really do not have a good way to deal with Barrogoyf main deck. Got rid of a Flooded Strand. We hit a Faithless Looting, which actually puts us down cards. Are we just dead here? We block to take 6, 7 minimum. We will see if we can get any more information out of our opponent's deck, and then we will just scoop it up. Yeah, this is something that this deck just doesn't deal with. If your opponent can get decent-sized creatures on the board, like, there are times you can get, like, a Marauding Mako to be huge, or if you can get a Stalactite Stalker to stick around long enough, it gets really big, but I don't think we are realistically getting out of this one at all. Alright, they're only attacking... Okay, I was about to say, they're only attacking it with 2, but they're not. They're actually swinging out with everything, so we're going to take 7 here. But we get to take out 2 of their morphs in theory? We have to block like that or we're just dead. Oh, I thought I blocked this. Oh, whatever. Palace Jailer, Orcish Bowmaster, Tamiyo. Okay, so they are just straight up Esper Oculus. They took back the Tamiyo. And we will see what our top card is. We're just dead on board. It's fine. And do we draw anything useful? No. Okay. We will go to the next one. That's fine. So, against what our opponent's doing, Blood Moons... We are doing, like, a huge sideboard plan here, unfortunately. We are bringing in a ton of shit to deal with what they have. That said, I really do not think that the Anvil thing is going to work here. I really don't think Stalactite Stalkers are going to do much either. And then since we trimmed down on the Anvil combo, I think we're going to take a couple of chains out. I think Orcish Bowmasters is just going to be better. We didn't actually see a ton of cantrips out of them. Obviously, we know they're in the deck. We saw a Ponder. But I think we just got to go aggro, control the board, and try to cheese them out with a Blood Moon. Try that. Alright, let's see if we can squeak some wins out against this opponent. Oh, we're going to keep this. We can try to screw up their hand pretty badly. Or we can try to turn 3 Bowmaster and then do all of this. We'll see how low they mulligan. They're mulliganing to 5, so there's a part of me that wants to go ahead and just Burning Inquiry and screw up whatever hand they keep. Okay, since they went to 5, I think we are just going to go ahead and try it. Just try to screw up their hand. They're already relatively low on resources. And just see if we can mess up their hand at all. We got rid of a Swords, a Wasteland, and a Triumph of St. Catherine. Okay, we kept the Bowmasters, but then just got a bunch of lands. So we're a little weak to a Thoughtseize if we spun them into one of those. Underground Sea. Okay, well there goes our Bowmasters. The nice part is we have a bunch of land, so we're going to be able to cast pretty much anything we draw. We will play the Scalding Tarn with the plan to go get the Raucous Theater. It is nice to get the Triumph of St. Catherine out of their deck, though. They might have more than one, but a lot of decks typically only play one. Ponder from the opponent, okay. They took the Bowmaster that we could punish that with. They shuffled their library, that's good. And it looks like they are missing land drops, so we might be able to cheese them out of this game, especially if we can find a Blood Moon. We will keep the Bob, that's fine. We will play a land, play a Bob. Like I said, if we can cheese them out with a Blood Moon before they start making land drops, that would be awesome. Alright, they hit a land. Tundra, okay. And they have a Bowmaster of their own. That is unfortunate. See if we can cheese them out with a Blood Moon still, because we can still cast... or we just draw more lands, and we manage to successfully mana screw them for a turn, and then we're just going to flood out here. And they do always say, screw beats flood, but they're hitting their land drops now, and now they theoretically can go ahead and Oculus here. Or, I was going to say, the paying cost makes me think that this is a Murktide Regent. No, it's a Baleful Strix, okay. Cracking the Flooded Strand after getting in, okay. Into another Tundra, into another Ponder. We gotta draw some relevant cards here. And I am holding on to these fetches specifically to grow our Stalkers if we hit them. Opponent does not shuffle off of the Ponder. That's kind of terrifying. We hit a Chain of Mephistopheles. We will play another Scalding turn. We will play out the Chains to at least kind of restrict their cantrips a little bit here. Marsh Blast from the opponent. Paying costs again makes me think Murktide? No, Teferi. Okay. Fetching with their Marsh Flats. Are they going to bounce the Chains to draw a card? Yes. They are bouncing the Teferi, or bouncing the Chains to draw a card. That's fine. Yeah, I think this one slipped away from us. And, okay, and Thoughtseize to take it on top of that. I mean, luckily it was just a Chains. That's not huge here. If we get a Bowmasters, we can kill the Teferi, and we have some blockers. Or we draw a Barrogoyf. I don't think this is going to stick around, but we got to try. It is a big boy, 5/6. Celestial Purge. Okay. Okay. Upticking the Teferi. Now it doesn't die to Bowmasters. It still dies to a Lightning Bolt. Faithless Looting. Unfortunately, we gotta cast it. Like, we just gotta try to play through this Bowmaster. We're gonna play a hollow one, but again, I don't think it's realistically gonna stick around at all. Luckily, this hollow one is still bigger. But, yeah, I don't realistically think this is sticking around at all. And our opponent has a 2-turn clock, so we'll see. Palace Jailer, yeah, we're fucked. We'll take our last draw, but we're 100% dead here. There's nothing we can draw off of one card that is going to get us there. Because we got a 4. They get another card off of the Monarch. And we draw a Polluted Delta. Yeah, opponent got it. Alright, yeah, I guess I'll, compile my thoughts and we'll go over this in the wrap up. All right. So, despite the positive record, I'm going to say I didn't particularly like this deck the way that it was constructed, and part of it might have been the way that I played it. I might have been trying to get the Anvil Chains lock down too quickly and hurting myself more than our opponents when I did it. But overall, I honestly think we just got lucky in general. Our creatures are really small compared to what's out there, and our interaction is not really good for what the meta currently is. Lightning Bolt is great for reach, but a lot of the threats out there are just going to be too big for Lightning Bolt to deal with, like all the various Goyfs running around, Murktide Regent, Oculus, stuff like that are all just going to be too big for Lightning Bolt to deal with. So I think this deck definitely needs to be reworked, but I'm not 100% sure how to make it competitive. I think some disruption in the form of discard would be nice in the deck, some Thoughtseizes, maybe some Hymn to Turoks, just something to be able to get the things out of your opponent's hand that your Lightning Bolts can't really deal with. There was also the inherent non-bow of having Chains of Mephistopheles along with Burning Inquiry and Faithless Looting, which, while Burning Inquiry is great when you have it because it screws with your opponent too, if you have Faithless Looting yourself, you're just going down cards. And there were multiple times where we were able to get the lock on board, but our opponent still had too many cards in hand and were able to answer what we had on board, and we had no way to catch back up because we were just getting ourselves in the Anvil lock. So maybe, like I said, I was a little too aggressive with trying to get it online, and I should have waited a little bit longer until I had more of a board presence. I also just felt like overall our threats just really weren't that powerful. Like Marauding Mako and Stalactite Stalker can get huge, but you got to jump through some hoops to do that. And Stalactite Stalker only being able to grow by one every turn is just really slow, especially when you don't have some of the tempo elements like Daze and Wasteland to back it up to keep your opponent from being able to answer it. I did like Hollow One though. I do think that was an upgrade over Beaumont Courier. It felt good when we were able to do it and be able to cast it cheaply. It didn't die to a lot of the removal that was out there, but as a top end threat, again, it just wasn't as big or as threatening as a lot of what our opponents were able to do. So overall, despite the positive record, I think this deck has a lot of work and it didn't particularly feel very good, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure what you could do with this deck. Maybe the Chains Anvil lock is just a little too cute, and you want to replace that with some more traditional discard and some more threats, like moving the Barrogoyfs into the main and going even harder on the aggro side of the deck. But overall, it was a really cool idea. I like it in theory, even if in practice I don't think it was great. Again, despite the positive record. But that was Drunken Sharks. It was a cool idea. I did have fun playing it, despite the fact that it didn't feel very good. But thank you all for watching. I hope you had as much fun watching as I did playing. I will catch you all in the next one. And as always, stay salty. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like and sub button below. There are free ways to support the channel. And drop a comment, let me know what you like. Any kind of feedback you got, your opinions on my gameplay, the decks that I play, any of that kind of stuff. If you really like what you see, go ahead and drop by the Patreon. Become a patron, get to read some of my tournament reports and some stuff going on outside of just Magic in my life that I'm going to start putting over there as kind of my own personal blog. Also, you can do donation deck lists over there, just the price of a league if you have a specific deck you want to see, or you have an idea you want me to brew around, something like that, go ahead and do that. Nothing is required. It's always appreciated, though. Any donations go directly back into the channel, covering stuff such as leagues for donation decks or the rental program that I'm a part of. I am a small-time YouTuber. I'm doing this for fun. I really hope you all like what you saw. I truly appreciate you all stopping by. I will catch you all in the next video, and as always, stay salty.